Hey moviegoers, Avengers Infinity War comes out this week, and Russell from Howell's Hollywood Reviews and I are doing our own Road to Infinity War. We posted polls on Twitter for Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3, consisting of all the movies from those phases, and you guys voted on your favorite movies from each of those phases. And Captain America Civil War was the movie you guys voted for Phase 3. So me and Russell are going to review that movie. But before we get into this movie, Russell, go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, yeah, you can find me on How's Hollywood Reviews on YouTube. I do movie reviews, trailer reactions, all that fun stuff, just like Mike does. I'm also on Stardust and Letterboxd, HH Wood Reviews, same as my Twitter handle, HH Wood Reviews. Talk anything movies. I love talking movies, and I'm glad you had me on again, because I'm excited to kick this Infinity War week off with you, and this is a good way to do it.
Absolutely. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, we did Avengers on this channel. We also did Captain America the Winter Soldier over on Russell's channel, leading up to Avengers Infinity War, which we will be talking about on Russell's channel. So check those videos out when they come out. And let's dive right into Captain America Civil War. This movie is directly a sequel from Avengers Age of Ultron, and all the events that have taken place in the MCU, all the destruction that has happened. The governments of the world are looking at the Avengers and they want to put limitations on them, so they make the Sokovia Accords, which they're really trying to push all the Avengers to sign. Half the Avengers want to, half of them don't. Captain America falls on the side that doesn't want to sign it, and Iron Man falls on the side that does want to sign it and keep the Avengers in check. So that leads them to a civil war. They're all fighting against each other because, Captain America is trying to redeem his friend Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, because he's framed for killing King T'Chaka at a UN summit. And, all this stuff happens, they fight, and it's another movie directed by the Russo brothers. So, opening thoughts, what did you think of this movie, Russell?
I mean, this movie really should have been Avengers #2 because Age of Ultron, it just failed for me. I couldn't get into it. This is what Avengers 2 should have been for me. Like how you said, you're pitting, Steve Rogers against Tony Stark and two friends that, have just different thoughts, have different ways of thinking. And again, yes, you see the Black Panther coming into the picture of the MCU with his father and his untimely death, and them, finding out it's the Winter, or them thinking it's the Winter Soldier and stuff like that, to try to interweave the story together. But we see Tony Stark's character, because he supports the oversight. He supports all this because he feels that because of his role in the Ultron's creation, he feels kind of guilty with that. And then we see Rogers on the flip end of it, basically having more faith in his own judgment than that of government interest. And that's what really pits these two against each other, because of the different way of thinking. Tony Stark is thinking in one way, Steve Rogers the other way, and it's such an amazing film to watch unfold on the screen, because you're constantly rooting for both. But even though I like Iron Man's character way more, there's moments though where you're just like, wow, I really hope these guys just don't kill each other, because this movie was just so intense. And again, hats off to the Russo brothers for constantly bringing their A game, and that's why I'm so hopeful for Infinity War, because these guys are 2 for 2. This movie works, and this movie is just such a joy. We see everything. Ant-Man, we see Spider-Man. I mean, we see everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say that exact same thing, that I have no concerns for Avengers Infinity War because of this movie and, of course, Winter Soldier. This movie in particular, because of all the characters that they put into it. They introduced Black Panther, they introduced Spider-Man, and they just fit right in, no problems whatsoever. And every character gets a moment to themselves, and yet it is still a Captain America central plot. Every time I see this movie, I'm smiling almost the entire time. The little bits of comedy that they throw in there, it has a very serious tone. You feel for these characters, especially when Iron Man, Tony Stark, finds out the truth about his parents' death when the Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, ended up being brainwashed to kill them. And your heart breaks for him, and then at that point, the whole fight breaks out between the three of them, and you don't you're not really rooting for either of them because you just want them to stop fighting. It's like when your kids fight or something. You just want peace.
You're just kind of watching it unfold on a screen, hoping nothing bad happens. You're like, just don't break anything. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where you're just watching it. And again, the Russo brothers do such a good job of this because this is a Captain America centered film. It's called Captain America: Civil War, but again, everybody earns their time. Tom Holland's time in the film, Ant-Man, Black Panther, everybody has, and it feels earned. It doesn't feel rushed. They're just throwing these guys in here. All these things feel earned, and I think that's, again, why the MCU is so successful in doing this, because they've taken their time to do this. They've done this for the last 10 years setting up the MCU, and nothing feels rushed, so everything just feels natural, you know?
Oh, absolutely. Unlike the DC movies, because this movie came out the same year as Batman v Superman. It's two movies where their two main characters are fighting each other. This one did it totally right because they took their time with years of movies beforehand. And that airport scene was awesome because you even get comedy within that scene, and it is still a serious scene in and of itself. And just the action, the lines that they say, everything the weight of that fight scene is incredible. What did you think of the action overall, but in particular that airport scene?
I mean, that airport scene's phenomenal. When you see giant Ant-Man and stuff like that, and we see Tom Holland's character, our first little taste of Tom Holland's character in Spider-Man. I think they did it right with this one because, I mean, not to knock away, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield both had different portrayed Peter Parker in their own way. This feels a little bit more fresher, I guess, just because of the fact that he's so young. He's more relatable. Yeah. He's not like a senior in high school. Like, this kid's like in middle school, and he's just learning about all these power, you know what I mean? And it's just, he's like a little kid in a candy shop. He's so smitten, it just kind of, to tie it in with, I guess, Spider-Man Homecoming, he's just so smitten to be part of these guys. Yeah. And I think that in itself is just genuine enough. And I think this movie works better than BVS because they don't have anybody named Martha in their life,
Yes, they didn't connect through, they didn't fight at first and then team up because their mothers were named the same name. That just bothered me so much about that movie. But
I'm still mad about that, man.
Oh, I know, me too.
Oh, man, that's another rant for another day.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But yeah, like I said, I love the fact that they incorporate all these characters, and these are big characters. I mean, these are big build characters because Ant-Man had his own movie, Spider-Man would later on have his own film. So they pepper, and Black Panther, all these guys, and they pepper all these guys in, and they give them a little bit of screen time, but they still make it a Steve Rogers centered filmed movie, and I think that's why it's so successful, and that's the brilliance behind the Russo brothers and what they've brought to the MCU.
Yeah, and this movie, just like Captain America: The Winter Soldier, and of course Avengers, this movie had huge implications and a huge impact on the MCU's future because, you have the Avengers split in half pretty much. And, that's going to put them at a slight disadvantage when Thanos comes in Infinity War, which I'm totally looking forward to, and I know you are too. And the villain in this movie, Baron Zemo, is the mastermind behind splitting them up. What did you think of the villain in this movie?
I really did like him as a villain. Maybe not the best out of the villains that we've had, but still, all the things that were that made this movie so successful is the fact that this is set up many stories, down the road. I mean, we've set up the Black Panther film from this movie. Like, it literally, the beginning of Black Panther starts with all this stuff happening, with his father, dying and stuff like that, and him coming to terms with all that and trying to, rise up to be the Black Panther. I mean, there's a lot of implications in the MCU that kind of trigger from this movie. And again, how you said, with the Avengers splitting apart and stuff like that, and now, come down into Infinity War, we're going to see them all back together, and this movie was just so good. And not to take anything away from the villain, I mean, the villain was okay. But overall, I just, he was just a villain. I mean, nothing crazy.
Yeah. He's just kind of a regular guy that just starts a fire, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, but that's nothing to take away from the movie. The movie is very important in the linear timeline of all the stuff that's going to be happening in the MCU, there on forward. But the movie overall, it works. It really does.
Yeah. And in terms of negatives, do you have any for this movie?
Honestly, I don't. I know I picked Avengers apart a little bit, and Winter Soldier I really didn't have anything because the Russo brothers just brought it. No, the pros that I like about this film is it wasn't afraid to divvy away from what you like, what was almost a normal comic book movie. You're pitting two big names against each other with Iron Man and Captain America, and the Russo brothers weren't afraid to do that. But on the same token, didn't kill anybody, but like when you were watching the trailer, you're like, somebody might die, like somebody legit might die, and it was nice that the Russo brothers tiptoed around that, because these two characters have their own side, and there's a reason why they feel so strongly about their side. And I think that's the whole success that drives this film is RDJ and Chris Evans' chemistry on the screen. You really see that these guys really have come along in their chemistry on the screen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the fact that, you're kind of flipping as a viewer of this movie, you kind of flip back and forth on whose side you're on. Because each of the characters has strong points why the Sokovia Accords are a good thing and why they're a bad thing. And I found myself mainly on Iron Man's side, but every now and then I'd go to Captain America's side. Like, well, we need the Avengers to not be constrained in what they can do in that universe. I thought is a very strong plot for this movie, for sure.
Well, no, I agree. This movie was a constant tennis match because you're being bounced back and forth between sides of who you want to. But you just hope that moving forward there can be something that can unite these guys back together, and this is where we're at. So this is the reason why everybody's back together, and it's just going to be such an amazing film that I just can't wait to see this tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it, man.
Oh yeah, me too. And yeah, in terms of negatives, the only negative I have for Captain America: Civil War is the fact that it ended. I actually wanted it to be longer. I mean, normally you don't want a movie that's like 3.5 hours long, but I just didn't want this movie to end. I wanted it to keep going, and I just wanted them to get back together and quit fighting. But they kind of hint at that at the end of the movie, which is nice. But yeah, overall, no negatives.
No, there's really no negatives. And just to kind of topple off of just the random thing about this film, it was interesting to see who joined Tony Stark's team, because I think he had Black Widow, he had Black Panther, he had Rhodey, Vision, and Spidey, which was kind of neat to see. Yeah. Because we see that connection with Spider-Man and RDJ's character, Tony Stark, in Homecoming. So it was kind of interesting to see all these characters kind of like have their own little side team. And then everybody who sided with Steve Rogers in Captain America. I just thought that was kind of cool too, because we see that these guys are both respected. They have all a different plate of superheroes that kind of see the same way they see, and they're not afraid to take a side. And I think that was really important for the film too, I think.
Yeah, and they not only split them up based on their powers so that there would be kind of an even fight, but they gave them a reason to be on that side within the story of the film, and I find that very, very well done. So
I find zero. I can't really find much fault in this film.
Oh no, I can't for sure. No. But as a grade, how would you grade this movie, Russell?
Again, I mean, I know I'm beating a dead horse here. I gave this movie a 5 out of 5. Again, this is another benchmark for the MCU universe. There's a few films that have done it, and all the ones that we've reviewed are the ones that are the most important stepping stones for the MCU. It just so happens. This really just pits the two different, left and right side pretty much against each other. You have, Iron Man, you have Captain America. You have different ways of thinking about things and different viewpoints. And then you see the friendships being tested here. Kind of what you saw in Captain America Winter Soldier with friendship, but a little bit more to the nth degree, I think, because these guys are really close friends, and you've seen it firsthand, as opposed to Bucky and Steve you just saw for a little bit.
Right.
But this film really is another important stepping stone, just to see just to lead up to Infinity War. There's not enough good things to say about this film. It was nice to see Black Panther introduced, nice to see Spider-Man introduced, and it was nice to see Ant-Man get some love too, because I know he's pretty much like one of the underbilled characters, but he's still important in his own way as well. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, I definitely have to give Captain America: Civil War an A+. This is my favorite MCU movie because it's basically Avengers 3, or really Avengers 2.5, because Infinity War is Avengers 3, but they could have easily titled this movie Avengers, and it still would have been fantastic. I loved every aspect of this movie, the character development, the introduction of new characters, the conflict, the acting, everything about this movie works for me. And this movie in particular is the reason why I am so excited for Avengers Infinity War, because the Russo brothers at the helm, I mean, like you said, they're 2 for 2 so far. I honestly think they could go a perfect 3, and then I think they're directing Avengers 4 as well, so they could do 4 for 4 for sure.
Yeah, and then on top of this, you're going to throw in the Guardians of the Galaxy and Doctor Strange in the mix. Like, holy hell! Like, how are you guys going to get? The interesting thing is going to see the balance of screen time, and I think that's something that they've learned already from from Captain America: Civil War. So I don't have a problem with that.
So that is our review for Captain America: Civil War. What did you guys think of this movie? Did you like it, love it, or hate it? Let us know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to check out Russell's channel, Howell's Hollywood Review, and check out our review of Captain America: Winter Soldier over there. And that is where our Avengers Infinity War review will be when it comes out. Russell, I was happy to have you again. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on again. It was really nice to shoot the breeze here with the movies. You guys can find me at House Hollywood Reviews. I do the same thing Mike does, movie reviews, trailer reactions, all that fun stuff, all things movies. And you can catch our Captain America: Winter Soldier there too. So yeah, and like I said, I thank you so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely, this was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to talking Avengers Infinity War with you. And of course, check out our Avengers movie review here on this channel. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you hit that bell icon next to the subscribe button so you can be notified when we upload new content. Also, check out our Patreon page where you can support us and get early access to videos. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.